Awakening to an empty planet, not able to locate any other living human beings, at least at first. The idea of the sudden awakening to an emptiness and the exploration of the psychology of loneliness. This is New Zealand, 1985. Bruno Lawrence, Allison Rutledge, Pete Smith, The Quiet Earth. As you begin the film, The Quiet Earth is not entirely original. This is the stuff of many episodes of The Twilight Zone, the I Am Legend. Even films about zombie apocalypses often begin this way. The idea of the sudden aloneness, maybe because it is so jarring, maybe because it is something we don't fully contemplate. What really stands out about this film from New Zealand, The Quiet Earth, is how well they delve into the psychology of loneliness. Now, we might be tempted to say, hey, I'd love to have a world where there's no people around. If you're not a people person, if you enjoy your alone time, but this film really captures how much you've got to really think about that. When there are no people at all, when things then begin to break down, things aren't functioning, there's nothing on TV, there's no humans even to perform for your amusement. You have to find ways to find the old tapes and get them to run and whatever. This is 1985, by the way. So there are videotapes and there's video machines, but he really gets into the aching loneliness. Our protagonist wakes up at the beginning of the film, apparently he has bounced back from an overdose. He has attempted to commit suicide. He wakes up and everybody else is gone. He begins to go about his day trying to figure out, at first it's just kind of odd, and then he starts to realize when he fuels up his car and nobody's at the gas station, that nobody's on the street. Eventually he will witness a plane crash right out of the sky because it was left flying around with nobody in it. He searches and he goes through the various means you might think of to try to locate other people. He even takes, in this version, some risks, like putting out graffiti on billboards that said, I'm here. Is anyone else still alive? I'm living at, please find me. He figures out how to broadcast this over the radio as well. You never know what exactly has happened. If there are other humans, what condition are they in? Do you really want them to know how to find you before you have spied them out? But he takes the risk. We start to see him break down. He begins to play pool against himself, taking on different personas and characters. Eventually, he comes across women's clothing, and he puts on women's clothing and begins admiring himself in the mirror in a very oddly homoerotic? No, manually erotic. They don't really depict anything too graphic, although we get a brief glimpse of nudity in it. But he misses other humans, and he misses other people, and there's not even any. Even if you're a confirmed bachelor and you're not looking for women, you notice them when you're out and about. The movie does a great job of capturing that complete absence of what do you do without human contact. As much as you might be a loner or not, in a world where everybody's just gone, eventually you begin to break down in this fashion. And we kind of get the idea that the film will be primarily about that, but it's also a weirdly science fiction film. Eventually, Anne Rutledge's character encounters him. He finds that there's a woman, but now you've got a man and a woman. Honestly, that is going to lead to other complications. They don't really discuss it openly in the film, but you've got to wonder, if we're the only two survivors, what are we going to do? Are we going to repopulate the world? Our kids can't have kids with one another. Do we just keep looking for other people? We've also been lonely, though. Are we going to copulate? And then what risk do we take of? And honestly, they handle it in a way that they go out of their way to depict it in a very dignified manner, even for 1985, where they're just happy to see other people and they don't really get into it too much. And when you're expecting that they will, they don't. Eventually, they find Appy. He is Appy, played by Pete Smith, And now there's 2 men and 1 woman. They find him, and he is being smart, clever. Has been living well armed and well protected, and apparently has been, whether he has military experience or not is not clear. There's a little bit of crime alluded to in his background, his past, but he's sort of doing the smart thing. He is looking for other people, but he's kind of skulking around, well protected, because you don't know whether you're going to live happily ever after with a group of people you find, or it is a zombie apocalypse, or you're going to find desperate cannibals or something bizarre. So the 3 of them end up forming a new human community, and in the process, our main protagonist, Dr. Hobson, who was working at a secret research facility in partnership with the United States government and other allies in NATO. It turns out that he believes that his project has caused whatever has happened. In the course of the narrative, he figures out that the fabric of the universe is wrong, which means that they have been moved sideways to a parallel universe, or did something that damaged the entire universe, or at least a pocket of it around the planet Earth. Finally making their way to his lab, they figure out the cycle, they figure out the event, as they call it, that caused this. Apparently the 3 of them, what they have in common is that they were all very near death. They were at the point of death when the event happened. Something about that has caused them to arrive in this pocket dimension universe, whatever it is. But now they know that with the equipment still running, the event is going to happen again. And if they are not near death, instead of shifting, what's going to happen is wherever the other people are, they go, or they go nowhere, or there's too much to chance, and so they assemble a large amount of explosives with Appy's help, and the doctor drives it into the facility, realizing that Allison Rutledge's character prefers Appy to him. He decides that he's going to break up the throuple, and he's going to drive the semi in and blow up the machine and prevent any more events from happening. So presumably the 2 of them and anyone else they may find lives happily ever after in this pocket universe. Problem is, he's too late. When finally we see him push the button, the event happens again. And this leads to the very bizarre, still hotly debated ending, where he comes to on a beach, watching very unusual waterspout type alien landscape clouds with a rising ringed planet, very close proximity, large in the sky, what appears to be Saturn or a planet like it. It is clearly an alien environment. He is moved because of the event rather than dying. What the event has done is it has moved him, and apparently it has caused whatever has occurred in this phenomenon of the pocket around the planet. Perhaps all of the human race is now shifting between these multiple realities, but that's only one theory. Another theory is that it's something to do with Roman Catholic theology, given the writer of the story, and that actually because of his suicide at the beginning, that it was successful. He actually has awakened in some sort of purgatory, and each time he sacrificed himself, blowing up the explosives. Each time he kills himself within the fictional narrative, he's getting into a worse set of circumstances. But that would require a mystical view of the entire story. I'm not sure that really does it justice, given that he encounters the other 2 people, though they could arguably represent, the feminine in himself and the sense of other, even within himself. They might not even be real, or they're manifestations of him. I kind of like the science fiction angle better, but it is a bizarre ending, and it's a relatively bizarre film. I did like it. What I found most enjoyable was, and the thing that really made it unique isn't the unexplained, unclear ending. What really made it unique was the way it delved into the psychology of his mental breakdown, the weird and wacky things he does because he's the only man on Earth when he is or believes he could be, and the way he begins to deteriorate mentally without anyone to interact with. That is done much better. Most films that deal with that, they don't deal with it as in depth. They don't show as much of it, or it'll be more focused on survivalism, what things he finds in the ruins. This film has all of that. We see all of the things he collects and gathers and the things he decides to do with his time, and yet we see his mental breakdown. We get a huge chunk of this in the middle of the film, and really that ends up being what The Quiet Earth is about that bizarre level of isolation that even if we think we would want it, we don't really, because we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves long term. So I really enjoyed it. Right now it is free on YouTube. It is streaming. You can see it with ads on like Vudu or something, but on YouTube it was built in with premium if you have premium. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Live long and prosper, or have the event slide you into a parallel universe or purgatory or whatever that was.